What if I told you that the Confederacy did not end with the Civil War of 1865? After the Civil War, many Southerners, having lost the war, moved further down south. Roughly around 10,000 left the United States. Some headed to Cuba, Mexico, Venezuela, British Honduras, which is now modern-day Belize, Canada, with the majority going to Brazil, where slavery was still legal, and the Emperor Don Pedro II, seen here looking like Santa Claus, a Confederate ally who sheltered and supplied Southern ships during the Civil War, offered land to the Confederatos as they were known, sold them land as little as 22 cents an acre, subsidized their transport to Brazil, provided temporary lodging upon arrival, promised them quick citizenship, and at times even personally greeted them. Don Pedro had his own reasons, as he wanted to kickstart the cotton trade in Brazil, and he believed that southern farmers would be perfect for such a role. Over in Egypt, the land of kings, cats, gold, pyramids, and Imhotep. Since the European powers during the 19th century were carving up Africa like a Christmas turkey, Egypt, though self-governing under the Ottoman Empire, wanted to get in on the action. Egypt at the time was led by the ambitious Caliph Ismail, who ruled Egypt from 1863 to 1879. Ismail wanted to push Egypt's border south to Lake Victoria and to control everything above the equator between the Sahara Desert in the west and the Indian Ocean in the east. This included consolidating Egypt's grip over the vast territory of Sudan, which was already ruled as an Egyptian colony, and establish an Egyptian hegemony over the east coast of Africa from the Suez to Somalia. Ismail recognized that he needed to introduce technological innovations and reform his army before he could begin his conquests. This innovation would come in the form of US Confederate soldiers who had fought in the US Civil War. Ironically, these former rebels in part fought to preserve a social system based on the enslavement of Africans and their descendants. Though Egypt at the time was the wealthiest and most developed state in Northeast Africa in the 1870s, however, Ethiopia was still capable of meeting Egyptians' challenge. Ethiopia under Emperor Yohannes IV relied heavily on the huge numbers that vastly outnumbered Egyptian forces. Ismail was originally introduced to the idea when he met Theodos Mote, an ex-Uni military officer and adventurer in the Sultan's court in Constantinople in 1868. Mote urged Ismail the advantage of using American veterans. In 1870, the first of these military overseers, ex-Confederate officers Henry Hopkins and William Wing Loring, arrived in Egypt on the recommendation of General William Sherman. Initially, these men were put to work designing coastal fortification and lighthouses, with later arrivals helping to conduct surveys of African territory already under Egyptian control. In 1874, Ismail launched an invasion of Ethiopia. Twice, Egyptian columns marched deep into the interior of Ethiopia, once from the Red Sea coast and once from Sudan, only to be met by an overwhelming number of enemy forces. Although Egyptians were better equipped than their medieval Ethiopian counterparts, who were often armed with swords, they operated on extended supplies lying deep inside enemy territory. On both occasions, Egypt's columns were crushed by the sheer weight of Ethiopian numbers. The invasion ultimately failed. The war subsequently ended in a stalemate until the British Admiral Sir William Hubert broke a final peace treaty in 1884. Egypt's attempt to conquer Ethiopia was effectively extinguished after the Battle of Gora. The involvement of US veterans was a footnote, if anything, and the failed attempt by Egypt to obtain an African empire similar to that of Europe. Later on, Ismail, upon pressure from both Britain and France, was removed by the Ottomans.